Welcome back to the Parrot Podcast. I'm your host, Sandra, and today's episode, we have a special guest, and her name is Georgia. I'm so excited to chat with Georgia. She is Mummy to Archie, Luna, and Ivy, who are three adorable green-cheeked conures living in Tasmania, Australia, and they are living their best life. And I'm so excited to chat with Georgia because I want to ask her about how she harness trained her birds and where they go on their adventures to take all these beautiful photos while also ensuring that her birds are also safe, which harness she finds is the best for our parrots. And we're just going to chat about all things parrots, maybe a little bit of dogs, because she also has two adorable dogs. So let's welcome Georgia. Welcome, Georgia. I'm so excited to chat with you today. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Awesome. So I've been following you for a long time, and I know that you have some really cute green cheeks. So tell us about your flock, their names, their ages, and their mutations.
We have Archie over here. He's about to turn 6, and he's a pineapple green cheek conure. We have Ivy, who's about to turn 5. They're actually only 4 days apart, who is also a pineapple green cheek. And then we have Luna, who's the youngest, and she'll be 4 in October, and she's a yellow-sided green cheeked conure.
They are so adorable. And tell me a little bit about their relationship. So you mentioned that they are also all siblings, but from different clutches.
Yes. They all have 1 year in between them.
So cute. And what is their dynamic like? Do they like each other? Do they not like each other? Do they hang out?
Luna is the thing between them. She loves both of them and they both love her, but Archie and Ivy don't get along too well. They tolerate each other now, but they're definitely not friends.
And that started when, because you first had Archie and then you brought her home and Archie got jealous.
Ivy was a surprise. I wasn't planning on getting another green cheek. I was happy with the one. But I heard from the breeder I got Archie from that she had a little girl that didn't have a home yet that had a broken leg. And she wanted her to go to someone that would knew how to take care of her. But I wasn't sure about bringing another bird home, so I agreed to take her for a little bit. And I only had her for a couple of weeks when I knew that I was going to have to keep her. She's very lovable. We weren't sure at the time what sort of accommodation she might need, but she's adjusted so well. And honestly, she's not too different than the other birds now.
And how is her leg now?
Yeah, it's good. It's unfortunately we weren't able to correct the leg. She still has the splayed leg. That's the result of a fracture because they would have had to break it to reset it, which would cause her more stress. But she's not in any pain, so we just keep an eye on it.
Wow, that's so great. Oh, poor little thing. I also wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that her and Archie really didn't get along when you first brought her home.
No.
What did you do to kind of get them to the point where they tolerate each other?
Well, a lot of it was just trying to get them in the same room, doing their own thing. I set up meals for them, far away, but so they could see each other for mealtime. Archie's biggest problem was Ivy being near me. He was very jealous. He didn't want to share anyone. So that was a bit tricky at the start. It took him a while. He's also always been uncomfortable with other birds. He's not a social bird, he's more of a people bird. But once we got Luna, she actually made things easier. And Archie, she was determined to be friends with Archie. She didn't understand that he wasn't interested, and she spent 2 years trying.
2 years?
Eventually, 2 years of rejection. And he finally decided that she was okay. And the next thing I knew, they were preening each other. And now they're best friends.
That is so adorable. That is a valuable lesson. Just be persistent. Take it from Luna. Oh my gosh.
He can be a bit of a bully too to the other birds, but Luna's not scared of him. She's really tough, so I think that helped.
What a brave little girl. It's so funny because I
Yes,
always say
she's
this
fierce.
about birds. They're such individuals. And even though
They
there's
are.
like characteristics about green
Mm,
cheek conures that they're like this, and this is their noise level, those things can all be true. But at the
mm,
same time, each one of them are so different and their
so
personalities are
different.
so different.
Mm,
So, who
oh,
is the
definitely.
noisiest out of your flock?
Luna. Luna. She screams.
And who is the calmest?
Ivy. Ivy's an angel bird. She's really sweet. She's always gentle. She's just a really good little bird. She has no meanness in her at all.
I'll take her.
Very, very sweet. Yes, I think a lot of people would take Ivy. Maybe not Luna. She's trying to bite me at the
I
moment.
can see she's a bit nippy over there.
She's so hormonal.
Oh
She's
gosh.
insane.
Oh yeah,
She's
because your
burrowing
seasons
under
are
things.
flipped.
Yeah, she's crazy.
And
Mm.
who is the naughtiest or the most mischievous?
These two are both pretty mischievous in different ways. She's very clever with it. He likes to get his own way. He's not happy if he doesn't. He's not afraid to
Archie.
throw tantrums. Yep. He
Mm.
had a big tantrum the other night because he thought I had a shower without him. When I didn't, I just had the heat lights on. He thought I was in the shower. And he was going crazy. And as soon as he realized that I didn't, he just stopped and was happy as and just stepped right in.
That is so cute. I
Mm.
find that Mia often gets FOMO. Like if she
Yeah.
is in the other room or she's not where we
Yes.
are, she just starts like making all these different noises.
Mm.
And if we don't pay any attention to those noises because we don't want to reinforce those, she starts saying
Mm.
her name. And
Yes.
it's so cute. And I
No.
always give in. She's like, Mia, Mia, like come get me, and I'm like no I can't. I always just melt and
Oh,
I immediately go and get her.
he screams my name.
Really?
Mm.
He
Calls
says
me
Georgia
Georgie.
or mom?
He's Georgie.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
My nan, who he adores, she calls me Georgie. And she always calls out to me, and he says it in her inflection.
Oh my gosh, I would completely melt. I've been trying to get Mia to say mom or mama, like any form of mom, because I
It's
would
very
just
cute.
melt. Do you find that they say any other words? Because I know conures aren't really known for
Yeah.
talking. They mimic a lot of sounds.
Mm.
And our son conure Mango used to mimic everything when we were in Thailand. Like he would mimic the doorbell, my
No.
sneezes, and all these different things. But Mia
So
only says
cute.
her name.
Archie says a lot. He's a real talker.
Oh,
He knows a lot of words and he keeps learning too. Ivy says a few words, but she just has a few that she cycles through. She hasn't really picked any new ones up for a couple of years. But Luna doesn't talk at all. She's the only one that doesn't. She prefers to scream. Huge. She's very fun though, and she's very affectionate. Um, no, Archie knows a lot of words and phrases, and he cycles through them. So he'll pick one that he just says all the time. A while ago was just peekaboo to everything, which is his favorite. At the moment, it's "I love you," and he just says it all the time.
that is my dream. It is my
Mm.
dream for Mia to say that.
He does know certain words though in context, like he knows when to say certain things.
How
Like he'll say
clever.
good night, but he only says that at bedtime. He doesn't say it any other time.
How adorable. Birds are
Mm.
so smart. They are such intelligent little beings and
Mm.
they learn so quickly too. Do you have any
They do.
tips for anyone that's listening that has a conure and wants them to start
Mm.
saying words or their name? What are your top tips?
I think a lot of it is just talking to them like they're a person, just all the time. It's just talking about what you're doing. I think that's what happened with Archie. I never tried to teach him to talk. I was just always talking to him, no matter what we were doing, and he just started picking things up. And I've definitely found that they like to mimic the things that you say in an excited voice.
Yeah, that's
Um,
why she
to
probably
the
says her
yeah,
name.
yeah, to the point where he copies people's inflections, like says it the same way you say a word, which is pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
It's funny because now that I'm thinking about it, when she says her name, she's saying it in the tone of voice that I do when I'm talking to her because I
Yeah,
always talk to her in a baby voice immediately. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, my little girl. She's so sweet. She's taking a little
yeah.
nap on my shoulder. She loves to do this. Every time I'm just
Oh, it's so
talking,
cute.
she's like, it's time for me to listen to my mom's voice and take a
Mm,
nap.
she's adorable.
So I actually wanted to ask you because you have the most
Mhm.
beautiful pictures of your birds
Thank you.
outdoors on your Instagram. And very quickly tell everybody where they can find you on Instagram or how they can find you.
Our Instagram is archie.the.conure. Um, it's it was centered around Archie and his adventures outdoors, but has become an account for the whole flock now. Um, but we still have lots of adventure shots.
Yeah, your adventure shots are beautiful. And I know that your birds are really well harness trained. So I wanted to ask
Hmm.
you a few things about harness training and taking them outdoors with the
Yep.
harness on because it's something I've always wanted to do, but I'm always like so nervous. And then I have all these like
Yeah.
situations that come up in my mind. What if they get spooked and they
Mm,
fly and they get yanked
mm,
or this or that?
it's
And I just
definitely
get so
scary.
scared.
Oh, she's nodding yes.
They're both all of them are doing it. They're bobbing their heads like, yeah, yeah, there are so many things that can happen and our mom's going to tell you about
Yeah.
all of it. So, let's start off with I guess how did you get
Mhm.
into harness training them and getting them comfortable putting on a harness and taking it off?
Well, I first thought of it because I started harness training Archie when he was about 6 months old, and he was
Start them
extremely
young.
clingy, so clingy. He just hated being left alone, even for an hour. It was really difficult, and I hated leaving him. So I started looking into ways that I could take him places with me, and found out about harness training. Did a lot of research, um, and I wasn't quite sure how to start with it. I watched the DVD that came with it, on all the things to do, like practice lifting their wings and putting your fingers over their head until they get used to it. Um, and I started doing training sessions with that using sunflower seeds as treats.
Are
You know,
sunflower
you're,
seeds a high value reward for him?
yes, the most high value.
Okay, so it's always when you're doing something like this, you want to use that high
Yes,
value reward. Because, for example, for
yes,
Mia, she doesn't care for sunflower seeds. She is
that's
strange,
interesting.
but she doesn't
Yeah,
care for them. And her high value reward is like a walnut.
no, they like walnuts, but they don't consider them good enough to do a lot of work for them.
Okay, so you used a high value reward and you just
Hmm.
kept trying to get them comfortable with lifting their wings and putting their like your fingers around their like head
Yeah,
and neck area.
yeah, Archie, the lifting the wings up was actually quite easy with Archie. He was very trusting, so that didn't take much. But he really struggled with having the harness put over his head, which I think
Mm,
is a big problem for a lot of birds,
yeah, I
especially
would
if you're
imagine.
using the aviator harness. It's the neck hole is quite small for the small birds, um, and it has to be that way so it fits properly. But it can be tricky to get it over their head at the start, and he really didn't like that. So we spent a couple of weeks practicing that every day. And there were a few setbacks where he'd get upset. Once he hid under the bed, because I took too long to take it back off him after he put his head through it. And I was a bit worried about trying again after that because I didn't want to stress him out.
Hmm.
So I gave him a few days before trying again and went back and did things a bit slower again and got back to the same point. And I probably did about a month of that, before I actually got it on him for the first time. The first time I tightened it, he was a little freaked out. He was wobbling around a bit. And I just picked him up and walked out the front door. We lived where we lived at the time. We had a lot of trees right outside the house. So I just walked him just up the road. And as soon as we got out there, he was pretty enchanted by everything. He stopped, was looking around. And after that, really, it wasn't too hard to get it on him the second time because he knew what he was going to get to go out again. That was the easy part with that. See, once I got it on him, he started associating it with going. He got very excited, but it definitely took him a while to get used to wearing the harness. even though he liked being out, he would still pick at it a bit for a while. I would take sunflower seeds on the walk and give him one every time he started to pull at the harness. But he stopped doing that pretty quickly.
Have you ever had a situation where you had them on the harness and you were outdoors or you were just out with Archie or more than one and they got spooked or something and they tried to fly? What do you do in a situation like that?
Well, with Archie for a long time, I didn't give him much length with the harness. Like I kept him fairly close, so that he couldn't go too far. And I've always practiced flight training with them in the house so that they have enough flight skills to be able to navigate properly. And I think the first time he probably got spooked was when a bird flew over us and he let out a scream and did a fly, and he flew straight to the end of the harness. And then the aviator harnesses are shockproof, which is really good, so it doesn't jerk them too much. So it's fairly easy for them to turn in a circle and then circle back, and that's what he did, and landed back on my shoulder, panting pretty hard, but he was all right. And he's quickly figured out that he could do that. So that has happened a few times. He'll get spooked, he'll fly off, do a circle, and then land back again.
He knows he's safe with mom.
He does, and he doesn't. That's very rare for him now because he's not spooked by many things. He's very used to everything, and if he's a bit worried, he'll climb up into my neck. He's not too worried, but it does happen with Luna every now and then. He'll spook and do a bit of a fly.
Also good that you take them out like this because you're desensitizing them more and more.
Yeah.
And that's why Archie is so great because he's desensitized so much.
So much. I watched old videos of him at the beach, and he used to do a little flinch at the waves every time, like a jump when he heard the noises. And now he'll actually just go to sleep at the beach, sitting on the rocks. But he's that comfortable now, which is really great to see.
Yeah, desensitization is something that I think takes consistency and persistence, but it also helps our birds be able to deal with different situations. Another time that I was chatting with Sophie and we were talking about thunder and lightning, and we've been getting thunderstorms and lightning every so often. Like it's not rare for us to have one. So Mia doesn't even flinch, and Lambo, our dog, doesn't either. Like rainstorms, thunder, lightning, it doesn't bother them. They don't get stressed out at all because they're exposed to it all the time. And Sophie was saying that another thing she does is she actually plays those sounds on YouTube. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah, playing certain sounds that they could be exposed to is also a great way to desensitize them. But I love that.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually.
I also wanted to ask you which aviator harness, it's the aviator harness from Parrot University that you're talking about. Is that your preferred one?
Yeah, I've tried a couple, not all of them, obviously, but what was available at the time when I first started harness training Archie. I think there are a few more available now. Sorry about that, they're a bit crazy. But no, that was definitely the best one that I found as far as the material was nice, felt secure, and it didn't restrict their movement too much, which was a concern of mine.
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
people use I'm sorry, what are they called? The flight suits. But I don't really like the idea of them being all covered up like that. I feel like it's a bit restrictive, and I don't think my birds would like that too much. So I really like that they still have full range of movement and flight.
Yeah, I actually saw on their website that they also have like a measurement size depending on what type of parrot you have, which size you should get. Is it for conures? Was it the green cheeks an extra small?
It's a size petite, which is an extra small for the smaller conures, and then for some conures and larger conures, usually an extra small. I would say the smaller size is a mini, which is an extra small, and that's like budgie size, lovebird size.
Oh yeah, they're little tiny guys. They're smaller than even these little green cheeks. And I can see the difference between Mia and Mango, like the difference in their size and even in their weight when I would like have them on my hand is quite the difference. I once tried to get Mango to do the harness training, but I didn't go back to it because I felt like he was stressed out about it and I was so nervous about it that instead I just
Yeah,
resorted to the birdie backpack. So every time I take them
yeah,
out or on walks or to the vet or anything, I use the birdie backpack because I'm like, they're secure in here. They'll be safe.
they are.
But
Yes.
I know that it's definitely more like enriching for them to be on a
Mm,
harness, probably like outdoors,
mm.
not in the backpack or a
Yeah,
carrier.
I think it depends on the bird too and what they're most comfortable with. Archie doesn't like being in the carrier that much because he gets a bit stressed not being out with everyone, seeing everything, hearing everything. He wants to meet everyone we walk past. He just loves meeting people. That's all he wants to do when we go out.
That's so
Um,
cute. Is he nice and friendly with
but
everyone?
so friendly. He just loves everyone, every single person he meets. He goes to anyone. Someone will hold their hand out for him. He doesn't even look at me. He just steps up.
That is wonderful. He is so well socialized. You did such a great job with Archie. Round of
I don't
applause,
even
applause.
I don't even know how that happened. Honestly, he's always liked people, but he was very clingy to me when he was younger. Um, but now he will ditch me for anyone. He just
You're like,
loves people.
thanks.
He's very social. He loves children, which is really cool. He loves going to the local primary school.
That's
He
so
just
cute.
he they'll line up and he goes from person to person. He likes to hang out with them while they read. He's really good at it.
Oh my gosh, Archie, you are a natural star. And look at those beautiful colors.
Ivy likes children too, which is really nice, but she does get overwhelmed easily. So I don't really take her to in places
Mm,
like school where there are a big group of kids anymore. But she's definitely got that in her too. They both just really like children,
yeah,
which
but
is
it's a good
nice.
thing that you also acknowledge and like realize which bird feels comfortable with it, which
Mm,
one doesn't, because we have
yeah,
to also be able to read our bird's body language and understand like kind of what they
mm,
want, what they
definitely,
like, what they don't like, and not force them into things.
definitely.
I've actually been dreaming about a pineapple conure because it's funny.
Mm,
When we were getting mango, we actually thought that we were getting a pineapple and it ended up being a sun conure. So it was a nice, lovely surprise for us. And I
oh
loved
wow.
it. And then when we were looking at a clutch from our breeder, there was all these pineapples, but my heart was set on a
Mm,
turquoise. And now I would
mm,
love a friend for Mia, but I want to get a green cheek so that they're like the same size and they understand each
yeah.
other and can connect more. And
Hmm.
so I've got a pineapple on my mind.
When I was getting Ivy a friend, I thought about getting a sunconja because I've always wanted one. And I originally was deciding between a sunconja or a green cheek when I first got Archie. So I was tempted to do that, but I thought it would be better to have a bird exactly like her, especially since she's a bit smaller than average, has a bad leg. I didn't really want a size difference there. Mm,
Speaking of sun conures, I know sun conures are really loud compared to green cheeks. I can tell
mm,
the difference between Mango and Mia and their noise level. But what is the noise
mhm.
level like with three green cheeks?
It's definitely a lot louder than one, but not three isn't much louder than two. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They having um it's mainly Archie and Luna. And when they start screaming at the same time, that's when things get really loud. You can
And do
hear
they
them now.
feed off of each other, like making
Yeah.
each other scream more?
Yeah, Archie will scream for me if I leave the room and leave him in here. And then Luna joins in just because. And then they're both trying to outscream each other quite loud.
And is there any like thing specific that you do to try and tone down their screaming?
Well, I usually let Archie come everywhere with me, so he's not like contact calling too much. Luna usually screams when she's bored, so it's really just staying on top of that and keeping her stimulated and make sure
Yeah.
she's got enough to keep her busy.
Yeah.
And taking her outside
Foraging.
really helps with that. After an adventure, she'll be good for like the next few days. Like it really wears her out.
I
Makes
do
a
that
big
actually with
difference.
Lambo. I always take him outdoors for a long walk, frisbee
Mhm.
throw, or a ball throw to tire him out. So then he just naps for the rest of the afternoon and I can get solid work done. And usually she's just
Always good.
napping on my shoulder. Yeah, I actually remember we were chatting about your dogs as well. And
Mhm.
you've got two dogs, Arlo
Yes.
and Albie.
Yes.
And they're so cute. They're a
They
lab and a Dalmatian, right?
yes.
And how is Arlo doing? Because I remember we were chatting through
He's
DMs
yeah,
about his pancreatitis.
he's really good. Yesterday he was playing, like properly playing, sprinting around the yard, which is really great because he hasn't been able to play for a couple of weeks now. Um,
Oh,
so he's a lot better.
that's great. I'm so happy to hear
Mhm.
that. The poor thing. And your
He's a
dogs,
big
like your
relief.
birds, are so cute, which brings me to my next question. What is your relationship like between your dogs and your birds? Do they get along or do they not get along?
Well, since I got Albie, I don't trust him completely. He's too rough, and
Yeah.
he's still young and bouncy and stuff. So I don't let the birds out around them just to be safe.
And that's your
Neither,
Dalmatian.
yeah,
How
yeah.
old is he?
Arlo is he's 2. Arlo just turned 4, the Labrador. Arlo's good with the birds. He's calm. He doesn't disturb too much, but I teach them not to take any risks. Um, so I don't let them fly around in the same room with the dogs just in case.
Do you get a little bit
They're
nervous because they're big dogs as well?
yeah, they're big dogs and they don't know how big they are.
Yeah.
Even if they
I
didn't
find
mean
dogs do
to
that a
hurt
lot,
them.
especially the big ones. They think when the
Hmm.
bigger they are, the more of a lap dog they think they are. With
Yeah.
Lambo, I feel really comfortable with him because he's also
Mm,
really small and he's so gentle and he's just such an angel. Like
yeah.
everyone's nickname who spends time with him, my best friends, my sister, my mom, after spending time with him, if they've been pet sitting, they're always like, he is such an angel. He is the most angelic dog. So with him, I feel really comfortable. But still,
Mm,
every time I have Lambo and Mia out in the same room, I'm
mm.
supervising
Yeah,
because you just
definitely.
never know. They're two different species of
Hmm.
animals, and birds are a prey for an animal
Hmm.
like a dog. So it's always really good to exercise caution when having interspecies relationships.
Yeah, definitely.
What time is their bedtime?
It depends a bit on the night. Archie actually won't sleep until I'm sleeping, which is a bit tricky. I'll put him to bed
Really?
first, but he won't sleep. He just waits. I have to be
What a
asleep. He won't.
romantic. He loves you.
He he will only sleep in the same room as me too. He won't sleep if I'm not in the room.
So
He's a
if
bit
you were to put
needy
him in
like
a
that.
separate room that's like blackout, it's dark in there, and you're like, it's time for sleep, good night, he wouldn't sleep.
Maybe eventually, but a lot of screaming for
Oh,
a long time.
really?
Yeah, he's not great with that. Ivy and Luna are good though. They're easy to get to bed. Ivy used to put herself to bed, which was cute. Whenever she got tired, she'd just go and tuck herself in.
That's
But she doesn't really
adorable.
do that anymore because she doesn't go to bed without Luna. But they're really
Okay.
cute. They sleep together.
So they're
They have a
attached.
tunnel,
Oh,
unless she's attached to Archie,
oh, that's
which
so
she
sweet that
is.
they have such cute relationships with each other. I love
Mm,
that. I can't wait for
yeah.
the day where I see like my two birds interacting together. I think I'll just like
Mm,
melt, especially the
mm,
first time I heard when you see them preen each other. It's like the most
yeah.
adorable thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't.
It was pretty shocking, but they're very cute now. And Luna's always been cute with Ivy because Ivy basically raised her, so they had a lot of cute
Oh,
moments. Ivy used to feed her when she's a baby. She'd pick things up and feed them to her. She fed her vegetables. She was just all over her.
that's so sweet. And
She
do
took it
Ivy and
very
Luna
seriously.
sleep in a separate room?
No, they sleep with me too now. I have, you can sort of see a cage over there. I have 2 cages lined up there.
Yeah, let's just
because it's
clarify
easy.
for anybody that's listening and not watching. They sleep in a cage
So
because we want to make sure that people don't take their birds to
yes.
bed with them. Because I've
No,
seen
they
comments
always, yes.
where people
No, they
do
always
that
sleep in a
and they
cage.
wake up with a bird that's no longer alive.
It's
So,
horrifying. Archie would love to sleep in bed with me, but it's just not worth the risk. He's too small. It wouldn't be
yeah,
safe at all. I
yeah,
used
it's
to,
not.
when he was younger, he wasn't very good at going to sleep. So I would let him fall asleep in bed with me. I would sit there until he fell asleep on my chest and then move him to his cage once he was asleep,
When
which
he was
was
a
made things a bit
baby,
easier.
I
Yeah,
love baby birds. They sleep so
he
much
was
and they're so
the
cute.
biggest baby. He was like a human baby. He was crazy. He couldn't sleep standing up, and he used to sleep in a baby blanket on the bottom of his cage, like
Oh,
under a baby blanket.
under a baby blanket.
hmm
Oh my
hmm
gosh.
I would fold it over, and he would crawl in between it, so he was under the blanket.
Oh my
And
gosh, he's
he
like a
slept
little
like that for
human.
about a year.
For a
Now he sleeps in a
year.
tunnel.
Did you find that to be safe? I would just be worried
Yeah,
about
it's
the blanket.
I got yeah, no, I got him like we still have them, but special blankets so that they don't have any like bits that could pull or get caught on toenails. So it's safe like that, and there wasn't a way for him to get tangled or anything.
Hmm.
But I
And there was
wouldn't
always a
recommend
way
doing
for
it
him to
with
get out from under the
yes,
blanket so he wouldn't
definitely.
suffocate or anything. Yeah. Mia
Mm-hmm.
always perches up. She likes to go to the top perch on the left side of her cage, and that's like her sleeping spot. But Mango, when he was a baby, he gave me a fright a few times because he would sleep on the bottom of his cage, rolled over on his back. One time I walked by, I thought he was dead.
Terrifying.
I lost my mind. And then I realized
Mm-hmm.
he's sleeping. So I started to lay like a layer of paper towels because I didn't want him sleeping on the bars. So I would make him like a little cushion so he had some back support. Do you see the
Oh,
other
that's
birdies?
so cute. Luna definitely did that. I posted a video of her doing that before. As a baby, she would pass out on her back, and it's terrifying every time.
Yeah, it is so
She
terrifying. But if anyone's listening
she
and your
would.
baby bird sleeps on their back
Mhm,
sometimes, it is normal and it happens.
it
And
is.
you think that something terrible has happened, but a lot of the times they're just taking a snooze.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, I've hand reared a few clutches of conures, like couple green sheet clutches, a couple sun conures, and almost every time there's at least one that baby that is sleeping on their back.
how did you get into like raising all of these different conures?
Uh, the breeder that I got Archie from, she's local where I am, and she's really great. And we developed a relationship after I got him. And eventually, she asked if I wanted to help her hand raise some of her conures because she had a lot going on. She was working as well and had a lot of different birds. So I took a couple clutches, and hand read them for her until they were ready to go to their new homes. Ivy got very attached to them, like very attached. She picked a baby she really liked, and she was really sad when they went, and I felt awful. So then the next year, I promised myself that I was going to let her keep one, and that's how we got Luna. She was one of the babies. There were four of them, and I let her pick one,
Oh my
and
gosh, I'm gonna cry. This is so cute.
she picked the naughtiest baby. Luna was the terror of the clutch.
Oh my-
She was.
Good one, Ivy.
She is a little terror, but Ivy just loved her.
Mia is honestly, she's got such a mixed personality because on one hand, she can be very calm and cuddly and
Mhm.
sweet and gentle, but she has like these dinosaur moods. Like all of a sudden, she's angry or like she hates the marker or the spoon is pissing her off and she
So
just
moody.
goes crazy. I'm like, you're a little dinosaur sometimes, but you're really
hmm
sweet. Right? So I remember we were also talking a little bit about snakes and spiders. So I wanted to get into that
Yes.
because I've never been to Australia. I'm from the other side of the globe. I grew up in Canada. So for me, it was always a dream to
Yeah.
go to Australia. And I love your accent as well. So anytime I talk to someone who's Australian, I'm like, keep talking. I want to hear your
I
accent.
always feel like it sounds not nice compared to other accents.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's really weird hearing Australian people on like American TV shows. They always sound so out of place. But everyone I talk to in real life is Australian, so it's really weird hearing them sound so odd.
That's so funny because I feel like for North Americans, we're always like, we love the accents like Australia,
Mm.
UK, like keep talking. Your accent seems so much more interesting than ours. But tell me a bit about Australia because I know that you've got kangaroos, you've got
We do.
snakes and spiders. And I had a friend, an Australian friend, and she would tell me that sometimes there was koalas, and when it would be mating
There are, yes.
season, she couldn't even like get up her driveway because there'd be like a koala in heat. And I was like,
It's
what?
crazy.
This is nuts to me. So tell me, what is the most craziest Australian stories you have?
Well, we have a lot of wallabies here, which are like kangaroos but a bit smaller.
Yeah.
And they're really not smart at all. And they're just hop around everywhere and they hop across the road all the time. So you have to be really careful driving in the dark because they will just run straight in front of the car
Oh gosh.
all the time.
So we have that
They
issue in
before
Canada, but it's usually with
Yeah,
deer.
yeah, they're crazy. They Before we had another fence up, they used to get in the backyard and they would just run around the backyard. Then we got a fence and they would stay a few times they slammed into it and they tried to go through the fence. So they're not the smartest, but they're pretty cute.
Oh my gosh. Are they like aggressive at all? Like you can't let the
Not
dogs out if
usually.
they're running around in your backyard.
No, they'll just chase them off.
Oh,
The
really?
wallabies
The
will just
wallabies are
run away.
scared.
They're not aggressive, but the larger kangaroos, they can be aggressive. We don't have them like just hopping around here. They're at the sanctuaries and stuff, but the large kangaroos, they're fierce.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever
They
seen
will
one up
fight you.
close?
Yeah, there's a place at Baker's Beach where they have a lot of kangaroos and they're just all around. And I've taken Archie there a lot. We go to take pictures. And
Were you terrified?
I've not at first, but I had an incident with a large kangaroo who growled at me when I got too close, and that was pretty scary. They
Oh my.
growl.
How did you get out
Mm.
of that situation? I'm on the edge of my
Backed
seat
away
here.
very slowly.
You just backed up slowly and got to the
Yep,
car. I
walked
bet those
away.
things would try and open a door if they wanted to.
If they really want it, they're pretty fierce. The largest ones are actually very muscly, which is a bit freaky.
Seen online.
Mm.
I'm like, those things have some like intense muscles.
They do. They're pretty tough.
Oh my gosh. What about snakes and spiders? We were chatting a little bit about this in our
Yes.
DMs because we used to live in Thailand and the snakes and spiders there, I've had enough snakes and spiders for a lifetime. So I
They're
don't know how
crazy.
you deal with it on a regular basis.
We actually only have, in my state, which is Tasmania, we actually only have three types of snakes, but unfortunately they're all poisonous, which is unfortunate. But it's mainly an issue in summer when it's hot and they'll just be laying around. But we've been pretty lucky here, like in that we haven't had too many snakes in the backyard. You have to be really careful on walking tracks
It would
because
be
they'll just come out to
that's
raise
terrifying
them.
having birds at home. What if a snake gets in the house?
Yeah, I've never had that luckily ever. Um, when I was younger, we did have a snake come off the driveway, which was weird. But no, we haven't had one in the house.
If you see a poisonous snake, what do you do? I mean, obviously run, but what if it's in your yard or something?
Yeah, the yard is trickier. There is a snake catcher that you can call to come and get the snakes. If they just hanging out. My neighbor had a snake that actually did get into her house, and she had to call someone to come and get it.
It was the
And
poisonous one.
yeah, and it actually ended up under her couch.
I'm terrified
Yeah.
just hearing this story.
Yeah.
I mentioned to you when we were chatting that in Thailand, in the house that we had, it was like kind of right on the beach. And one day I opened the back door to the back porch and there was a snake there. And there's a thing with the shape of their heads so that you can know if it's poisonous or not. And whichever
Hmm.
shape it is, when we had looked it up, we were like, it's poisonous. It wasn't very big, but I remember it being like
Hmm.
really dark, like almost black. And I just kind of like my husband was scared, or I don't know what he was doing, but he just went back into the house and I ended up dealing with it because I was like, we have a dog, we have a bird. I don't want this thing getting in.
Yeah.
So I took like a stick and I kind of got it on the stick and just walked it as far away as I
Hmm.
could.
It's
And
brave.
yeah, it was terrifying, but I was like,
Mm.
I need to get this thing as far away from me as possible with
Yeah.
the longest thing that I can find to separate us.
Mm.
But yeah.
They are. It's I mostly worry about the dogs because obviously that happens a lot. Dogs getting bitten by snakes, which is really scary.
Oh my gosh, I could only imagine. What about
Mm.
spiders?
The spiders, luckily, most of them aren't poisonous. We do have one type that is, but they're mostly pretty harmless, but they're terrifying.
Even though they're not poisonous, are they
Hmm.
massive and hairy?
Some of them are. The ones that come from, there's a lot that hang out outside, and we have a shed, and they come in the shed, and they're the big hairy ones, and they're horrifying.
I wouldn't have a shed. I would burn it down. Burn the whole thing down.
Yeah, no, it's horrifying. I hate spiders.
Have you ever seen one of those really cute ones, quokkas?
No, we don't have them in this state, unfortunately. A bit
Oh.
unlucky. We do have other little animals like potoroos that look very similar but are a bit different, and they're very cute.
Also, I've heard that in Australia, there's like areas with wild flocks of parrots.
Yes.
What types of parrots have you seen like in the Australian wild?
Well, around here, what we see the most often is galahs, so rose-breasted cockatoos are a big one. They're everywhere.
Oh my gosh,
Um, they're
cool.
just you drive down the road and they're like on the side of the road in a big flock. Um,
Oh my
they're really
gosh.
common. There's a lot of sulfur-crested cockatoos. They're everywhere too.
Yeah, I've heard about the
Um,
cockatoos.
mm, yeah, they're the most common white cockatoos. We have are sulfur-crested cockatoos. And then we have black cockatoos as well. We actually had a flock of them living behind the house, which was really cool.
That's
And
cool.
unfortunately, those trees ended up getting cut down, which I wasn't very happy about.
You should have
By the
protested.
person that, yeah, there wasn't much we could do about it, but that was really unfortunate. So they sort of had to move on. Um, but
Oh.
no, there was a flock of yellow-throated black cockatoos, which was really cool.
That is so cool. And when you had the cockatoos living in the backyard, did the conures ever get spooked if they saw them in the window or anything like that?
There've been a couple times. It's mainly if they hear birds, like the squawking, where it's usually one of them will get a bit spooked, and then they'll all do a fly. Like the three of them will just
Mm,
flap around the room together.
yeah.
Happens every now and then. One gets spooked, and then they're all spooked. Um, but they're pretty good, really. I've had a couple of scares with Luna as a baby. She's flown into the window, which has been really scary. But
Yeah.
she's a good flyer, and she's pretty good now.
I wanted to jump back to the harness training. So, after
Yep.
harness training and taking your birds out, did you first start off with doing like a short trips outside of the house and then gradually increase the amount of time you'd have them out to help with that
Yeah.
desensitization?
With Archie, it literally started just like walking down the street to the end of the street, walking back like a
Okay.
few minutes, and then slowly got longer until he was more comfortable. And it was even after he was harness trained and came out easily, it definitely still took a certain amount of time before he was actually completely comfortable. Probably another few months. until he was just completely relaxed and happy where he was.
And how do you ensure that they're safe? Like there's no predators, there's not going to be something that might spook them, or maybe snakes or wallabies hopping about, these types
Yeah,
of things.
they're actually very used to wildlife, like wallabies and things hopping around, so that doesn't spook them. It's more they would be scared if they saw a predator. But luckily, we actually don't have too many predator birds. We have some hawks, but I've only seen, I think, two over the years I've been taking Archie out, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But there are definitely safer areas that are more sheltered to take them, and it's really just scouting areas first and making sure everything looks safe.
Where's their
No,
favorite place to go? Like, would it be the beach, or like I see sometimes you have these garden
mm,
shots in the trees?
yeah. For Archie, it's probably the beach. He just loves it, and in summer he loves spending the day down there, like taking a towel down and hanging out. He really
Oh,
likes that. He comes in the water with me. He doesn't come in the water. He sits on my shoulder while I'm in the water, but he enjoys that. Um, for Luna, it's probably a lot of like the walking tracks and things where there are trees. She loves sitting in the trees. She loves
cute.
climbing them. She'll hang out in there for a long time.
That's so sweet. It's so wonderful that you give them these opportunities. And I think it's really important to give our birds that, because, we
Mhm.
want to get them as close to nature as we can, like when it comes to their
Definitely.
diet and their toys and flying, the things that come naturally to them, foraging
Mhm.
and being outdoors. So I think that it's really great that you take them out and you've harness trained them, and you've inspired me, because maybe
Mm.
I'll give it a try with Mia. Although over here in our area, I'm quite nervous. And it's also another
Mhm.
reason why I always take her in a backpack, because we have a forest like right
Yeah.
along here. And so it's great for walks with the dog, although not in spring
Mhm.
because there's lots of ticks. But there's a lot of predator birds here. So in this area, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I'd have to like bring her in the car and take her somewhere safe. But
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely, I think, would be a lot easier to get the harness on at home and then take her
Yeah.
out. So maybe when we're not living in an area with so many predators.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
let's wrap things up. But before we go, I wanted to ask you a couple of fun questions. So, my first one is, if your flock were a sports team, which position would each of your birds play?
Mm. I don't have a lot of sports knowledge, so it might be a little off, but I think Luna would definitely be like a defense player. She's pretty fierce.
She's in
Um,
there. She's ready to get the ball in the hoop or in
she
the net.
really is. I think Ivy's the one that hangs back, like to be the
The
last line of
defender.
defense. Yeah, but like
Defense.
at the back, if anything gets to that point, and Archie would be right in the middle of it, going for the shots or whatever it is. He just wants to be the center of attention.
He wants to be the superstar no matter what.
Yep, no matter what. He hates it when the attention's off him.
He's like, the
Mm.
Instagram account is mine. If everybody would just read that
He
it's
is.
Archie.
Yes.
Okay, next one. If there was a movie made about your birds, what would the title be?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Two Burbies and a Ken.
That's cute. I don't know, I'm trying to think of something like with three, but it's not coming to
The
mind.
Three Musket Burbs instead of the Musketeers. Or like Georgie Locks and the Three Burbs.
It could be.
That's the
Ugh.
one. Okay, next one. If your flock were a band, who would be the lead singer and which birds would be the backup dancers?
I think Archie would be the lead, even if he wasn't the best. I feel like Luna might secretly be the better singer, but he would still be the lead because he's very cocky and would think he was the best. And
And he's
they would be
bossy
stuck
too.
backing him up. He's bossy. So I think he
So
would
the girls are the
definitely
dancers
take
and
that.
he's the lead singer.
Mhm.
Who would you say is the most photogenic?
I would say Archie overall, but Luna's actually very photogenic now. She looks really beautiful in pictures. Her colors are really shiny. But Archie's got all the posing down.
Oh
He
my
knows
gosh.
exactly what to do for the camera.
Like I said, he
Get all
was
the
born
good
to be a
sides.
star.
He was.
Okay,
He's a good
last
model.
question. Do you sniff your birds? And if you do, which one smells the best? Or I also want to know what they all smell like because I hear from so many people that their birds smell like 100 different things. And I'm like, how?
Yes. So yes, I will. I think as far as best, I would probably have to say Luna. I'm not sure what it is, but she smells nice.
You just
But
want to inhale her.
yeah. But Echo, and newest baby Budgie, I love baby Budgie smell. It's just, I don't know, it's like a
Oh,
puppy smell. It's a really nice smell. And she's just lost that recently, which is a little bit sad.
oh,
She's getting bigger. She smells like a big budgie now. But
oh.
baby budgie smell is really addictive.
Oh my gosh, I love baby birds. They're so cute. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast
No
episode.
worries. Thank you for inviting me.
And just one more time, let everybody know how they can find you on social media.
You can find us at archie.the.conure.
Thanks for tuning in to the Parrot Podcast by Poodles and Parrots. I'm your host, Sandra. Have a clawsome day.